Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sounds Like Sam. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing the Thursday Night Football recap, which was Chargers versus Chiefs, uh, Week 15 NFL news, trending players in fantasy football, and some playoff advice for everyone in the fantasy football playoffs right now. So let's just get started with the Week 15 NFL news. This week, I think the biggest news has to just be around the schedule. Uh, if you don't already know, the Rams game as well, the Rams versus Seahawks game, as well as the Eagles versus Washington football team were both moved to Tuesday night, and the Browns versus Raiders were moved to Monday Night Football from Saturday to Monday. So that was big news because really just of the COVID uh, and how a lot of people were sick with it. They tested positive, and I think around 21 people for at least the Rams tested positive, and I think like 2 or 3 for Seattle, and then around 20 for the Browns. And I don't know how many for the Eagles and Washington, but I did hear that there was a lot going on with the Washington football team quarterback room, that they didn't have a lot of options due to the virus and them being infected. So I even heard a scenario where it was possible Washington football team would reach out to even Robert Griffin III and have him come back play the game for them, but that isn't like official news. That was just a rumor I saw, which I thought would be pretty sick. But that's really the biggest NFL news right now in terms of player news. The biggest stories would be that Lamar might play, but he still hasn't practiced. Uh, Patriots running back Harris is out versus the Colts with a hamstring injury. Uh, Washington places what is his name? Heineke. I forget his first name, but they put Heineke on the COVID list. Dolphins put wide receiver Jalen Waddle on the COVID list. I don't think he's expected to start. Tight end T.J. Hawkinson for the Lions is out for the rest of the season. Uh, Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is going to miss the rest of the regular season. Bills quarterback sprained his foot, but is quite a bit better. And then Odell Beckham Jr. Is among 9 players placed on the COVID list by the Rams. So these were the top stories by ESPN. Uh, Very big news in those categories. And like I said, the biggest news was probably the COVID-related news, and how they are switching games, which I know personally, firsthand, that a lot of people are not happy about that, especially if you were going to the Rams game. A lot of phone calls came in about them not being happy that they couldn't get a refund for it through Ticketmaster, which I totally understand, but uh, unfortunately, that's just the way things go, and I don't really know how else. I feel bad for people working at Ticketmaster, but I hope you got a ticket insurance. So, yeah, that was the NFL news of the week. Next up, going to the Thursday Night Football recap. It was an excellent game. I didn't get to watch it, but like usual, I get to listen to it on the radio. So what I heard, it was crazy. It was very tight throughout the entire game. Uh, through the first 4 quarters, Kansas City led through the first quarter 7-0, and the second, um, Chiefs scored just a field goal, but the Chargers scored 2 touchdowns. Third quarter, after halftime, Kansas City scored another 3 points. Chargers didn't score any, and then fourth quarter, Chargers scored 2 touchdowns, but Kansas City Chiefs scored 2 touchdowns and 1 2-point conversion, as well as going into overtime. Kansas City got a big touchdown from Travis Kelce, so making the score 34-28. Huge game from Patrick Mahomes. Patrick had 410 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and didn't really have a big running game. Although Patrick Mahomes, I did hear, had a huge run conversion to really get them eligible to get them to tie to go into overtime. So he had a big run, but he had 3 carries for 32 yards. And then it looks like Michael Burton, who I have no idea who that is, had a rushing touchdown. But then receiving wise, Chiefs went off. Both Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce had 10 receptions. Travis had 10 receptions. Tyreek had 12. Travis had 191 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is insane. You better be glad that you started him this week. Tyreek Hill had 12 receptions, 148 yards and a touchdown, which is still huge. And those are really the 2 biggest players on the team. Third best was Byron Pringle with 22 yards. But other than that, that was a big game by them. Justin Herbert didn't have a 300-yard game, but he did pretty well. He had 236 yards, 2 touchdowns. Justin Jackson had 86 yards on 13 carries. Austin Eckler, he was a little injured, had 12 carries for 59 yards and 1 touchdown. And then Keenan Allen had 6 receptions for 78 yards, a touchdown. Mike Williams kind of let down, 3 receptions, 49 yards. And then Austin Eckler had 4 receptions for 23 yards. Yep. So, I mean, from a game standpoint, very close. I honestly thought the Chargers might pull out a victory at one point, but then when it went into overtime, like you could tell, Chargers defense was gassed just by letting up Patrick Mahomes to that 30-yard run. And it was a really fun game to watch. I really hope you watched it. I think it was probably, I think I read somewhere that people rated it as like the most exciting game Thursday night game of the year so far, so makes sense. Went into overtime, and big play by Travis Kelce, which I think was like a 50-yard touchdown to seal the win for them. So, great game. Hope you got to watch it. And if you started any of those Chiefs players, then you're probably golden for this week. I know I picked for one of my teams. I went the Kansas City Chiefs offensive strategy, where I went Travis Kelce in the first, Tyreek Hill in the second, and then Patrick Mahomes in the third. And then they ended up going, they each had like 30 points, and then Travis Kelce had like 40. So I picked that team for somebody else, but they're riding high this week. I think they're already at 90 points total, and they have definitely outweighed their projection. But that just shows you, if the offense for Kansas City is on with their best guys playing well, then it's basically unstoppable. So great game overall. Excited for next Thursday night. But yeah, it was a fun game to watch. All right, next up, we're going to go over the trending fantasy players. And for me, I'm going to say not exactly. Well, for this first one, OBJ, because I'm starting with the up players, basically. Odell Beckham Jr., he's on my trending upwards players. James Robinson is next, Javonte Williams, and then my bonus is T. Higgins, who are all trending up. Odell Beckham Jr. has had 3 straight games with a touchdown, which is very good. The only problem with this is that he was placed on the COVID list, so it's not 100% sure he's going to play for Tuesday, but I'd say that the chances are a lot better that he's going to play now that it was switched to Tuesday. So if he does start, I would definitely start him, because I do believe he is their second best wide receiver, and he's proven himself to be a weapon in this offense, which I knew he could do. So I'm really happy and excited to see him improving on the LA Rams teams, and then actually utilizing them in their offense and in the red zone. So really great to see that. And then James Robinson, I think he's going to trend upwards. He's not necessarily trending upwards. In fact, he's almost trending downwards right now. Last 2 games, he's had two straight fumbles, and then he was benched in both those outings. So he's really had, I think, like 3 points over the last 2 games, which is not good. But I think with the firing of Urban Meyer, they're going to get back to business and they're going to start running the ball with him and getting his confidence back up and making sure that he is the ball carrier. And I think he is the best running back on their team and is a key playmaker for them. So in order for them to succeed, they need to be putting the ball in his hands. And I think that's what they're going to do. And I think he's going to have a trending upwards game. So he'll be back. Javonte Williams has obviously been crucial for a lot of fantasy owners. He has been hot. He's been the hot hand along with Melvin Gordon. Both of them have been really good backs for the Denver Broncos. But Javonte is really coming into his own. He's averaged around 20 points in fantasy football over the last 3 weeks in standard leagues alone, let alone PPR leagues. So he's going to be a big factor, and I think moving forward you have to start him, and he might be a fantasy football championship winner for you. And then T. Higgins, he's gone. He's been on the up and up recently. Really, after Jamar Chase has been not struggling, but just not doing as well as he did in his first 10 weeks. But T. Higgins has really come back and has shown that he's a key player for them too. And he's had around, I believe, like 12. It was like 12 to 17 fantasy points over the last 3 weeks, in each week. So he's been doing really well. I see that streak continuing, and I think he's a guy you need to make sure you have. I guess another 2 bonuses that I really haven't mentioned would be Deebo Samuel and what's his name? George Kittle. I don't know why I forgot his name, but obviously George is a star in the league, but Deebo has been killing it in the league. I think he leads. He has like 5 games in a row with a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown, which is crazy. So they're obviously lighting up their offense and really getting a good flow going. So to end the season. So if you're 49er fans, you should be very excited about that. But moving forward, definitely have to be starting both of them. George, I know, was he was outed as a huge tight end to have on your team, which I still think he was even when he was injured. You just have to, go with the flow. But having him back and having him be a reliable starter is really good to see. So they have been their offense in general has been trending. They've been trending upwards. So just wanted to give them a shout out, and not congratulate, but kind of congratulate them on their recent success. Their recent success from the past couple weeks. So that's good to see. My trending down players are the following: Marquise Brown, wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens; Dak Prescott, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys; Ezekiel Elliott for the running back for the Cowboys; and then Devontae Smith, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I will say, for at least Marquise Brown, a little bit of that has been, Lamar got injured, but also he just hasn't really been playing that well. I think his best fantasy-wise points that he's had was like 5, and then he's had like 3, 2, something like 1. But over the last 4 weeks, he has not done very well. He's definitely trending downwards. I don't know if I would start him moving forward, so just keep an eye on that. And if you have a better option, I'd probably start them. But if Lamar is back, I'd possibly consider it. But yeah, he's been trending downwards. Dak Prescott over the last 2 weeks has not done well. I think at least in one of my leagues I've started in the past 2 weeks, he's had only 15 fantasy points, which is not good. And that means in like regular leagues, he probably has like 11 fantasy points. So I don't even think he's been getting, I think that means he's been getting like 1 touchdown a game, which is not good, especially considering how elite their offense is and their playmakers. So even Jerry Jones has said that, Dak has to pick it up. He has to do better, and that he is struggling a little bit, but he is trending downwards right now. So if you have him in fantasy, maybe look for another option. But then Zeke too. I think Zeke has just been more of an injury conservative move for the Dallas Cowboys, and that they just haven't really been utilizing him a ton because of his injury status, and they want him to be healthy for the rest of the season. But they also have Tony Pollard, who's been killing it recently. He's just been making huge plays almost every time he touches the ball. So it's a little bit of a mixture of just having a kind of moving in a dual back situation and then just trying to keep Zeke healthy. So definitely something you look at in the playoffs. And then Devontae Smith, rookie wide receiver for the Eagles. I had big expectations for him, and I still think in the future he'll do well, but definitely been struggling as of late, and that really is partially due to their quarterback situation. Jalen Hurts doesn't really throw the ball that much. Definitely more of a runner, and their offense is kind of based off of their running game, and I just don't. I don't know that I would start him moving forward. So he's trending downwards in my opinion. But those are my fantasy football trending upwards and downwards players. So just keep those guys in mind when you are starting them this week. And then this week is really the first playoff week possibly for a lot of people. It really depends on what kind of league you're in. If you go all the way to week 18 or if you don't really do the last week of the season, just because, normally a lot of starters don't play, so it's like, why would I start any of my guys? And it's kind of just, you have to move around your players. But if you are in the playoffs this week, my advice would just be, don't get cute. Just start your best players, and just have faith that they'll have a good game and get their business done. If you really have an injury or something, like, Jalen Waddle is on your roster. If you have another guy, maybe, I don't know, like maybe you have Chase Claypool on your bench, maybe give him a start, but at the same time, like, just look out for other options. If Devontae Parker's on the waiver wire, maybe consider picking him up and replacing him, just going with the next best man. But yeah, that's what I would do if I was in the playoffs. Just don't overthink it. Play your best people, and they should hopefully pull through for you. But that was my advice for the week, and that was really the end of the episode. If you have any questions or comments about Week 15 NFL starts and sits, feel free to message me either on Twitter or Instagram at Bullseye Fantasy, and I'll try to get back to you. I know there's a Saturday game, so if you have any questions about that, I think it's like Patriots and possibly even Cowboys, but I forget who the Patriots are playing. But yeah, that game's tonight, so if you have any questions or comments, feel free to message me. But yeah, that was it. Peace. And good luck to everybody in the playoffs.